You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
No, I wasn't ready. No, there's all kind of mic noise happening because I wasn't ready.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're the one that hit the play button.
I know. I should have been ready. Wish we'd all been ready. There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come and you've been left behind. Oh.
That one will be releasing on Spotify soon.
Shout out, is it Larry Norman? Is that the guy who did that one?
That is a person.
It was, yeah. I know it from DC Talk and also because Rapture.
I only know it because of you, so.
Well, there you go.
So thanks for blessing my life with that.
You're welcome. Did you ever see any of the real old school Rapture movies like Thief in the Night or Thief in the Night 2?
No.
Oh. I remember seeing one of them. I don't remember which one it was. But
No.
Yeah.
I think I maybe watched the original Left Behind movie. From the Left Behind series. And
Yeah.
I don't think I watched any more of them actually either, just the first one.
Just the first day. Well, that's all you need, I guess. More than you need, perhaps. Yeah.
As long as it scares you into obedience.
Yes. Obedience is better than sacrifice.
That's what I hear. As the word says. You gotta fix this. More mic noise for you.
Yes. But, Jesus said, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Which begs the question, is there a difference between mercy and obedience?
Maybe. I was thinking real hard about it.
It sounds like a solid maybe. Yeah. Dadgum, I've been a little sickly, so I'm probably going to sound a little sickly in the recording.
You sound a bit nasally.
Yes, more so than normal. And I, like the real guy that I am, I kept forgetting stuff when I was leaving the house.
Yeah.
I had my water and I had my Kleenexes, I think, at first. And then I set all that stuff down to get the laptop and all that bagged up. And then I had the laptop and the Kleenexes. And I was like, oh, I forgot my water. So I went back into the kitchen, set the Kleenexes down, grabbed my water, and left the Kleenexes at the house. So, yeah. I don't even have a way to clear the sniffles away. But I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, so, basically we're kicking off 2026 on fire.
Killing it.
Forgetting things.
Yes.
Having trouble with the laptop. Can't get the camera right.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of things.
Having all kinds of issues. We've been having issues with the video. If you're someone who listens or watches regularly, sorry. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, unfortunately, our tech guy just hasn't been able to figure it out. So
the tech guy is not a tech guy. That's the issue. If we had an actual tech guy, right, that would be nice. But we make $0 off of this podcast, so we can't hire anybody.
No.
And I actually don't know of anybody, even if I wanted to ask someone to be like, hey, would you do this just for free? Just because you want to? I don't even know who I would ask.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, technically, I'm the one that has a formal education in.
That is true. How did I end up being the one that has this role?
But the funny thing is, though, I graduated from college with my degree in 2009. So all of the equipment that I learned everything on is obsolete now. So I'm just as clueless as everybody else.
Well, yeah. It'd be like that, I reckon. Hey, you know what I was thinking about this morning?
What?
I was thinking about how I don't know how to be a good person sometimes.
Fair.
On certain issues in particular.
Yeah.
Like, what actually got me thinking about it, maybe we shouldn't talk about this. I always say that. I always start saying something, and then I'm like, wait, maybe I shouldn't talk about that. But you know what? I end up doing it anyway, and that's not going to change today. I'm going to do it anyway.
There you go. I support that.
Plan on making some changes in 2026, but that one's not one of them, at least not yet. I was thinking about how there are certain situations in my life, certain things where like I have like been hurt by something or somebody, and like offering forgiveness and like genuinely wanting um to forgive. But then there's other elements involved in the situation where it's like it's not just that like this person like insulted me or made me was like uh made me mad or whatever. It's not just that. There's a whole other element of it where like there's other reasons for me to feel something against this person that you might even call righteous indignation, like a righteous anger.
Yeah.
And so there is that tension of like I actually feel like I don't maybe it's hard for you to know yourself on that kind of level, to know whether you actually have or haven't genuinely forgiven someone for something.
Right.
But it makes it even more complex when you have these other reasons that aren't attached to your personal forgiveness about it, I guess, that are kind of like, no, screw that guy. You know what I mean?
Screw that guy. Yeah.
For other reasons that aren't like a personal thing against you. You know what I mean? So like it's one of those things that I just randomly was thinking about it this morning.
It's kind of funny because actually yesterday was thinking through, it's sort of similar, but I was just thinking about how sometimes we have a tendency to oversimplify the message of Jesus and the message of agape, other-centered, self-sacrificial love.
Yeah.
And just, I was thinking about it from the perspective of like mental health and burning your own self out. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a degree of taking care of yourself. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I've always heard the phrase, and I think it's true. You can't love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be a truth to that to some extent. But I do believe in the Jesus way. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
just trying to. I don't think it's just as simple as like we want to make it to be. I guess it's not as simple as just like, well, you should always just forgive and put yourself in this negative situation, and then like you end up mentally burnt out and depressed and having anxiety, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that yesterday. It was kind of related to what you're talking about, I think, because it's not just well, you do need to forgive, but there has to be like if it's true forgiveness, there's a process to it. It's not just like oh yeah, I forgive you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know how much more to say without just like revealing to the world who it is in my mind that I'm thinking about. But
I'm wondering why you have so many enemies, John.
I don't feel like I have very many actually. But I really do think that like the ones, the people that I would consider my enemies, and so it's not like completely random. I think I said this was kind of randomly came. It's not really random because one thing I figured we would end up talking about a little bit, something I've been thinking about since we didn't have a topic. I've been thinking some more about and listening to another audiobook called Disarming Leviathan it's on Christian nationalism, and like just been different things that I've been thinking about with Christian nationalism and stuff, and both sidesism and a lot of that kind of stuff relating to politics and Christianity and all of that. And we took communion last night, and Brother Steve incorporated into those prayers like forgiveness for enemies, like, you know, those that have persecuted us or whatever. And like, that's hard. I prayed the prayer,
Yeah.
but it was hard for me to know in the moment, do I still harbor that unforgiveness or not? And if I'm, because again, relating it to Christian nationalism is what I'm feeling actually a pastoral sense of like righteous indignation of what I believe is false teaching, like Christian nationalism. I
Right.
believe that's a false teaching. I believe it's contrary, literally,
Antichrist.
Antichrist. Yes. And so if the thing that rises up in me when I think about that situation, is it actual unforgiveness, or is it that sort of more pastoral, like wanting to protect the sheep from the wolf kind of deal?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, more than likely, I would say a combination of all of the above.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of similar to like what I was just saying about the forgiveness. It's not just as simple as like, oh yeah, I forgive. Like there really is a process to it. I think part of that process is like you said the prayer, but you don't even know if you like, you know what I mean? Like part of it's just saying it. Like
Yeah.
like that's got to be an aspect to it, but I think that there really does have to be some sort of internal transformation, which seems to be what you're talking about, to where you're not really sure, you know, because it's not a head decision exclusively. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But there's more to true forgiveness than just like a head knowledge.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's always apparent to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just not knowing how to discern that has been something that I've been kind of thinking about a little bit this morning as
Yeah.
I was preparing to come here.
Hmm.
So, not knowing how to discern that difference between genuine forgiveness, you might say like a forgiveness in your mind, but not in your heart kind of deal.
Right.
Maybe. Is that what it is?
Well, it's funny because I'm just trying to sit here and think through it because my initial reaction is like, well, I can't think of anybody that I haven't forgiven. You know, like I don't have a.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure that's sort of what we're talking about, because the head knowledge aspect of it, I'm like, no, I don't have any unforgiveness. Like I don't hold anything against anybody right now. But probably if we were to have enough conversation about, you know, certain individuals, something would rise up within me.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what we're talking about, the not apparent. It's in there somewhere. I just don't. It's not appear
Yeah. Yeah.
until we talk about it and bring that up, and then it's like, oh wait, maybe there is a bit of unforgiveness in there somewhere.
Right. But see, that's the thing. I don't know if the thing that rises up in me is genuine unforgiveness on my part for the personal offense, or if if what's rising up in me is actually a right response to something that's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it probably, again, it probably is all the above, right? Because I think that when you have experiences with other people, you sort of internally create a character of who this person is in your reality. You know what I mean? And so like whenever if that character, even if you've forgiven them for something that they've personally done to you, it still kind of has a negative connotation attached to their character. And so then if they do something else, even if it's not towards you, you're probably, I would say, more likely to judge a little harsher on that person than you would somebody else, because you already view that person, even if it's not consciously, you view them in sort of a negative light because of what they've done to you previously, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it might be all the above.
Probably. It seems probably more often than not that is the case.
Yeah, one of the things that I've really focused on and noticed over the last couple of years through my own spiritual growth is we really, really want things to be black and white, man. We want it to be binary, this or that, us or them, you know, and life's not like that. Life is definitely not.
Right.
Humans are complex, but just life in general is really complex, and there's so much more to it than we want to acknowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Which does actually remind me of something else that I already mentioned it in passing, but like the both sidesism issue, like on going back to like what you said about things being black and white, even when you're trying to see the gray, when you're trying to see the world that's not just black and white, like there is nuance to all these things, like it's also hard to discern, I think, whether you're what I think, because I think a lot I thought about this in terms of like political stuff, like with me personally. I think a lot of people would want to accuse me of both sidesism, maybe.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on how you're defining both sidesism.
There's certainly been times that I would have accused you of that.
Yeah. But like, I don't think that's what I'm doing. I think what I'm doing is exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to not see the world as black or white, right or left. I'm trying to see where there are genuine flaws on both sides,
right,
and point them out without having any sort of tie to either one, any sort of like allegiance to either side,
right,
and trying to just be honest about what I'm seeing are the merits and the flaws to each side, you know?
Yeah.
But whenever you start saying those sort of things, I think it comes across a lot of times as both sidesism.
Right. Well, I think it does, especially for someone like me who has a, you know, I've got a, people might not agree with my political takes, but it's something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. You know what I mean? So I do have very strong opinions about it. They're not completely ignorant and uninformed opinions. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that I have thought out. And so for someone like that, it becomes, even doing what you're talking about doing, it comes across as almost like a trying to equate both sides as if they're doing the exact same thing, and that is both sidesism. You know what I mean? Like, to me, whereas like I can acknowledge. I mean, everybody who knows me knows that I'm pretty solidly left leaning, and like I can acknowledge that the left leaning political spectrum here in the United States has its own flaws. It's not perfect because, as we've already talked about, life is complex, you know. But I do think it's far less imperfect than the right. You know what I mean? Like, for me. And so, like, whenever we automatically start, like, well, this side's not good too, it's like, well, yeah, I acknowledge that they're doing things wrong, but one side is clearly worse than the other. Like, that's where the whole both sidesism comes across to me. It's like when we try to act like, no, well, they're just both just the same bad. It's like, well, I don't know. That doesn't mean either side is perfect. They all have their flaws, but...
Yeah. I mean, and some of that does just come down to personal opinion, I guess, as far as, like, is there one that is genuinely the lesser of two evils or not?
Right.
I mean, I told you I'm on this Christian Nationalist kick. I've never really been off of it. It's kind of been a constant thing that I'm seeing and not liking.
Yeah.
So,
It definitely is something that I've noticed you keep coming back to, which, like you said, you've probably never been off of it. But, um, you know, whenever if me and you haven't talked for a while, and then we're like, well, what are we going to talk about? It's you almost always are ready to talk about Christian nationalism, or have been
yeah.
reading up or listening to a book or something about it. And I have to say, it's as someone who is, we've already established you sort of have a pastoral disposition about yourself, then it's probably a good thing to focus on, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think it is a ginormous issue that we're dealing with in America right now. I don't know. I don't want to be one. It's hard to. Again, all this stuff is hard. I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to know
Right.
for sure, but it appears to me that, like, I don't think that it's an exaggeration to say that it is to say what I just said, that I think it is a huge problem. I don't know if I'm going to say it's the biggest problem that we have, but it is a huge problem that we have in the church. And
I wouldn't even, to me, it wouldn't be a
America
stretch to say it is the biggest problem. I mean, I wouldn't want to make that claim because
Right.
I haven't taken the time to like really think through
right.
it. But
And that's why I hesitate.
yeah, but it may very well be.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually was thinking, it's been a few weeks ago now, but I listened to an episode of Homebrewed Christianity, which is hosted by Trip Fuller, who, it's one of my favorite podcasts. If you haven't listened to it, you know, go look it up. Really like Trip. He puts out good content, I think. But he had a guy on there, and they were talking about declining church numbers, like overall. But they were, I think, if I remember correctly, they were talking specifically about mainline traditions.
Mhm.
But in that midst of the conversation, they also talked about how, like, well, the Southern Baptist denomination is losing record numbers. Like, it's happening all over the place. And in the midst of that conversation, I was like thinking, and I was actually thinking about it because I was thinking about the differences that me and you have, in views about certain things. Because I was like, it may very well kill Christianity. It may be the death of it. Because that's the number one, like, the church at large is losing huge amounts of people, and the number one reason given for why is the politics stuff. It's Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
It very well may kill Christianity. And like, I know that there are a lot of people, and this is what I meant when I was thinking about it from like the differences in you and me. Like, I think you would probably push a little harder against kill the Christianity just because you have more of a, you're not as perennialist like I am. You know what I mean? So like, for someone like me, where religions, including Christianity, are, just man-made, language and symbols to try to explain the unexplainable, to access the inaccessible, like all of these things, then religions come and go all the time. And I don't know that Christianity is any different than that. And I think that this could very well kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that Christianity, as we've known it, certainly all the Christianities, as the people of their time and place have known it, all pass away.
Right.
I think, I think that there are certain core things that remain, but Christianity in America today is vastly different than Christianity in America was. I mean,
Right.
even going back 50, 60 years, I think, so like, or well, maybe not. I don't, depends on what we mean by that. But I mean, it's certainly different than like if you traveled back to like Alexandria in the year 300, Christianity then versus what it is today in America. Like, there's obviously different versions of Christianity that have existed in history.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Well, just think about, this is an easy example, but think about how, especially the kind of Christianity that we come from, how immersed in the Bible it is. It's very Bible centric. Well, like, for the first 500 years, they didn't have a Bible. You know what I mean? So like, the Christianity has obviously changed and evolved from there.
Right. Yeah, as far as like everyone having their own Bible, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and I mean, well, I'm just talking about like the canonization. Like, there wasn't a canon for the first, I don't remember when it was canonized, but
yeah,
but
at least the first 300 years.
That's not to say that they didn't read certain things. That they did. You know what I mean? But it wasn't as central like it is now. Like the kind of Christianity that we're familiar with is literally built around the Bible.
Yeah.
It is the central part of the faith. People wouldn't want to admit that, but I believe it is.
And by that, do you mean like biblicist?
I think so. Yeah, that's
Or
probably
like
that's the language I would use. Yeah, but
like one of the ways we would have talked about it, I mean, before was like the almost like as as God, like the Bible is God rather than like
yeah, that is what I'm basically trying to say. I mean, that is what I believe. I just was trying to, I guess, probably tiptoe around it, trying to be a little,
yeah. Well, I mean, just for the sake of clarity, I just wanted to ask that question just to make sure I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, but that is what I'm saying. Essentially, is that like especially the more conservative evangelical aspects of American Christianity is biblicist. Like the foundation of the faith is the Bible. It's not anything else but the Bible. Like that's the foundation.
Yeah.
And for the first however many years, they didn't even have a Bible. Like it's obvious an evolution. That's a modern creation. And to your point, even when for a long time after it was canonized, people didn't have the Bible, like their own
Right.
personal Bible. It was they went to mass and was given whatever they were given
Right.
through the clergy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, until the printing press was invented.
I mean, just think about how much of our church life we spend Bible study. Sunday school is essentially just another Bible study. You know what I mean? Like it's almost everything other than the actual worship service part where we're playing music. Everything else is Bible centered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for the first 1,000 years, people didn't even have a Bible in their home. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that the earliest Christians, it was all centered on the person of Jesus, his teaching, and living that way.
right. A holistic way of life. It wasn't just something that you studied and went to church for, a couple times a week, but it was literally the way they lived. They lived in community. I assume that's what you're talking about. The earliest, communities, the followers of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a community, every aspect.
Yeah, but like I guess one thing that I'm trying to point out, I think it's reminding me of something that I heard this week. I do think that Christianity is supposed to be, and I think it was in the beginning, centered on the person of Jesus. Centered on Christ, right? Christ ions, ions, like which I found out, like the etymology of the word, like it literally means to belong to or to give allegiance to Christ. Like that's what the term Christian actually means. It doesn't actually mean holding to any set of doctrines. The term itself literally means to give your allegiance to Christ and Christ alone. It's the whole Jesus is Lord, therefore Caesar is not. And so that's another thing that drives me nuts about the Christian nationalism. But what I was thinking is like, what that made me think about actually was, it's never mind. I heard a couple response videos to actually some kind of older videos that it was Mike Winger and Alyssa Childers, and they were it makes me want to do responses.
Why do you do that to yourself?
I don't know. It makes me want to do responses myself because I can't even. I don't know that I heard. It was Randall Rouser is who I was listening to. I don't know that I heard anything Randall Rouser said because I was doing my own responses. like they would say something and I would be like, oh, what? And then I would like go through it in my head and like.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I do that all the time when I'm running.
Yeah.
I'll be listening to a podcast and then I go off and have my own internal conversation based on whatever it is they're talking about, and then the next thing you know, I've missed 20 minutes.
Yeah. And I don't even remember exactly what what was said, but like it basically was giving the vibe that you're talking about, where like it's the it's not Jesus who is at the center of our faith; it's the Bible.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe this may have been something about Ellie Stuckey, not Mike Winger and Alyssa Childers.
They're all one
Same
conglomeration of person.
Same. Yeah.
However, whenever I'm like talking about characters in films or whatever, and I talk about how like, oh, these are two different characters, but they're aspects of one person. That's those people. They're this.
It seems like it, yeah. But the whole point the reason I brought that up was to say that like there was something that was said that made it seem as if, well, Jesus is God, so anything that's in the Bible is endorsed by Jesus. And it's like, well, hold on. Is the Bible?
That would assume that it's univocal, that it's all saying the same thing, but
Right. Like I don't see how you get there, at least not without, doing some work to try to show how the things are not, you know what I mean? But it just reminded me of like, I think that we really have lost the whole center of the Christian faith is about allegiance to Christ, first of all, but it's about this person and about what he taught. And so what he taught is not congruent with something you read elsewhere in the scriptures, then your allegiance is to Christ first, period.
right.
So that means that you don't get to go jumping around pulling stuff out of context in the Bible and say, well, Jesus is God, so this is what Jesus believes. No, what Jesus believes and what Jesus taught is in the Gospels. You
Right.
take that and then you reinterpret you interpret the rest of Scripture based on that.
Right.
You can't just like take something that's complete opposite of what Jesus taught, seemingly, and like something out of the Old Testament, pull it out of its context and say, look, we can whatever because Jesus says it, because the Bible says it.
Well, you really hit on is what they're really actually missing is that it's their own interpretation. You hit right on it, because you should take the what you know about Jesus and interpret everything else through that lens.
Yeah.
So like when you're take that view that you kind of espouse that well, Jesus is God, and so therefore he endorses everything in the Bible, even, maybe it's something that seems contrary to what Jesus taught in the Gospels, but it's in the Bible. Well, like, that's just your interpretation of the Old Testament. You know what I mean? Like, it's what you're suggesting is, in my opinion, more proper, which is you take what you know about Jesus and then you just interpret those things through that lens. And sometimes what you're going to come to is, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're honest.
Right. Yeah.
I come across it all the time. Like, well, how do I make sense of this in light of what I know about the person of Jesus?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I've got growth and learning that I don't know everything. I'm not supposed to know everything,
Right.
But that's contrary to always having an answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it all is just tied in to itself. Like it is no shock to me at all that ignoring the words of Jesus and just kind of pulling stuff out of anywhere and saying, well, Jesus endorses this because Bible and because Jesus is God.
Right.
Like it's no surprise that we have that Christian nationalism is a thing today, because it goes completely contrary to anything Jesus taught, but you can pull scriptures here and there out of the Old Testament and say, look here.
You know what was really making me think of is I've always heard my whole life, I'm sure you have too, well, even the devil knows the Bible. The devil knows scripture.
Right.
Yeah, that's the point. Like to weaponize it and to use it contrary to what it should be used for. Yeah, that's
Right.
that's what we're talking about here.
Right.
So if you're using scripture to justify like Christian nationalism, yeah, even Satan knows scriptures. I mean,
Right.
that's a satanic use of them.
Right. Yeah. You can't just ignore Jesus. I don't understand how that's not like. Just think about what I said. Two Christians. You can't just ignore Jesus. What are we doing?
I know.
How is it even?
That's there's
We are in the upside down.
Yeah, we are. Really. That's why we always call Jesus' kingdom the upside down kingdom, but in reality, we're in the upside down.
Yeah.
He's upside down from our perspective, but that's because we're upside down.
Yeah.
But
I think I cut you off when I said that thing.
well, what I was going to say is that's where there is a stream of thought. It's generally in more progressive theology that there's a kind of an opposition of Paul and Jesus, and that most Christians are Paulians, not Christians, and I don't know that you have to take it that far, though. Like, I'm not saying that Paul and Jesus are opposed to each other in any way, but I do think that you shouldn't just write off what those people are saying either. I think that what they're saying is rooted in some truth, and that is modern day evangelical Christian really is more about what Paul said than anything you find in that Jesus taught in the Gospels. Like, that doesn't mean they're necessarily opposed to each other, but ask somebody about a certain topic in theology. What are the chances they're going to give you something from Romans versus something in the red letters? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's very possible. I mean, I think we have plenty of examples of Jesus' followers, Peter in particular, doing and saying things that get him rebuked. Like, it's not as if I don't know that we can say with 100% certainty that everything Paul said was not contradictory to Jesus.
Right.
But even that being said, I really think that it's possible, because there's so many different. The thing is, there's so many different readings of Paul, and so it depends on whose reading you're going by. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's why I hesitate to give any sort of final judgment on where I stand on it, because it really is just about how you interpret it and read it, and I don't want to make that decision for anybody else. For me personally, I do at times bump up against things that Paul says, or even things people in the Old Testament say, or other writers in the New Testament that kind of seem to bump up against things that I know about Jesus. And in those situations, I tend to, go with Jesus. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean I'm right, but that's
yeah. Well, and like I was saying that because of the bigger point you were trying to make, which was like it seems like much of American evangelicalism sides with Paul over Jesus. But I think that it's actually siding with a misreading of Paul, probably more often than not.
Right.
But yeah, But even that, I don't know that, because what's coming to mind is all these passages from Paul that are also clearly like would critique the whole Christian nationalism thing.
Yeah. Yeah, on that topic in particular, I don't know that there's any I don't know, outside of just blatantly misusing scripture, I don't know how you get there, like.
Right. Yeah. In particular, all of this stuff gets more complicated whenever you're trying to define the terms and stuff, because what is nationalism? I mean, I tried to get some definitions on nationalism, and actually I got like 3 different ones from different people,
Right. Yeah, there's a real, especially like making that differentiation between patriotism and nationalism, because those are two different things.
Yeah.
But we tend to think about them as one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you're right. It ties into so many other things, because where my mind goes with it is it's because we've removed the practicality of Christianity. And what I mean by that is it was a way of life. Like Jesus said to go out and make disciples. That was the Great Commission. And a disciple is somebody who follows a way. It's not someone, but we made it all about belief statements, like believe the right things. You know what I mean? So then that removes action out of the whole thing. It's all about everybody just believing the right thing. So like people nowadays consider themselves a Christian not because they're following Christ as you defined it, belonging to Christ, but because they believe certain things. You fit into this belief doctrine, so now you're a Christian. And then we don't have to follow the way of Jesus because it's not about following him. It's not about life. It's about what happens when you die, where you're going to go. Like it's all tied into this, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe I took that to the extreme because I went the exact opposite way. Hard. I've talked about that before, how I have the tendency to, however much somebody pushes in this direction, I'm going to give just as much back. You know what I mean? And so maybe I took it too far, but I took it the exact opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I personally think that both things are important. I do think that having the right doctrine is important, but I don't know how we can know which one is the right one either.
Right.
So I don't know what to do with that tension. I mean, I do think that there are certain beliefs and teachings that are obviously harmful, that are wrong, that need to be addressed. Going back to the very beginning of this episode,
Right.
like I do think that there are some things that are wrong, and demonstrably so.
Yeah, we're given a standard of how we know if it's good or not. You shall know them by their fruit. Well, what kind of fruit is being produced from it?
Yeah.
If it's producing good fruit, it's good. But if it's producing rotten fruit, it's rotten. Throw it out. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Even that can become subjective, though, depending on who it is.
Well, there's no way to avoid the subjectivity.
Yeah.
Because we've already talked about that. Life isn't black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, which is where discernment comes in, which is where I have been feeling like I need more discernment in my life on those types of things. But I don't know that you can't confuse, I guess, discernment for certainty. Like,
oh, no.
Like I mean, I don't know that you can, like, seeking discernment, you can't make that about seeking certainty because you're just never going to find certainty.
Right. I do think that even saying that seeking discernment is something that you've been focused on is a good posture to take. I think that that's probably the right approach. It's just acknowledging your own uncertainties and recognizing the need for discernment, because at the core, we all need that.
Yeah.
It's just an acceptance. Where you're at with it is just an acceptance of it, And I would say I'm right there with you, really. I mean, the thing that I've been talking to you recently about, is just like I'm really focused on trying to be better is the way to put it. That's not really a good way to put it, but you know what I mean? Like focus on how can I engage in the community, our community in a positive and edifying way, like that's something I'm really focused on. I've really been thinking a lot about that, and I'll toot my own horn. I don't care. I think that that's a good posture to have. It's not self-serving, because I want to be involved in the community and help and be of benefit to others besides myself.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that that's a good posture to have. That's something that I'm trying to do, also trying to figure out what I can do, which is, like you said before, all of this stuff is tied in together, because that just makes me think of my more Christian anarchist leanings lately, and how, like, there is that tension between what can I do in my community, and is that more important than my vote? That's something that I've been thinking about lately. Like, how important is my vote for my neighbors versus just me actually getting out and doing stuff?
right.
Which is more beneficial? You don't have to choose one.
Right.
But for me personally, what is the path that I should choose for myself in
Right.
regards to that? That's something I've been kind of wrestling with a little bit. And more, I feel like I'm leaning more Christian anarchist, which again is not, it's not escapism, and it's not disengagement, and it's not escapism, but it is an acknowledgement that any worldly system of government is just a kingdom of this world at the end of the day. It's not the kingdom of God. It is a kingdom of this world.
Yeah, the ring corrupts all,
Right.
except for Tom Bombadil. But
Right.
the ring corrupts all.
Yeah.
It's that consolidation of power. It's going to be corrupted no matter what side has a hold of it, or what in the world
Right.
of Tolkien, what race of being has a hold of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, that was maybe a little bit of a. I don't remember why I went that direction. I don't remember where we were before. Somewhat discernment.
We were just talking about how you were, your involvement in community, and we got there through discernment.
Yeah, because
That's actually something to discern, though. It's a valid thing. How do I discern how I can be involved in my community in a way that reflects my standing as a instrument, or the hands and feet of Christ?
Yeah.
It's something that we all need more discernment for.
Right. Well, I mean, I really do think that the Book of Revelation explicitly says that empire is like, I can't think of a better way to say it, or a more proper. These are not the words that I would like to say, but like that basically all empires are empowered by the Satan, whatever the Satan is. Like it is, like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And it can be used for good in certain instances, but at the end of the day, what we're talking about is a worldly system, a kingdom of the world that is empowered by the principalities and powers. And those will be overthrown at some point, in my eschatology anyway. So like it does make me wonder, do I, instead of just picking the lesser of two evils, how about I just don't pick evil and do what I can in my own community? That's kind of where I'm leaning nowadays. But I won't lie and say that there isn't also a tension in me with that, because I don't want to abandon certain neighbors by not giving my vote.
Right.
But then there's like, what does it even matter? I'm in Kentucky, you know what I mean?
That's where my mind always goes to, is like, you're never going to hear me like shame you for not voting, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I vote every time I can, and it's never counted. It's never made a bit of difference. So
Yeah.
the only kind of difference it's made is on my own conscience, like, but actual practical, to your point, not wanting to leave your neighbors out there to suffer alone, it's done nothing for them.
Yeah. It would be just a sort of like soothing of my own conscience, I guess.
Yeah.
Is all it would do. It's, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that it does anything else than that.
Right.
It's more of a symbolic gesture on my part.
I think for me, my posture on it currently is I would also kind of consider myself a Christian anarchist, in a way, more. Yeah, probably. But I also that doesn't mean I don't participate in the current system. I think that you have to, it's not like we don't participate and it's just going to happen into some sort of Christian anarchist society. You know what I mean? Like, we have to work towards that. And so that's where my participation is. It's like, sure, I think that's in state. I think that's, when you look at the fully realized kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, that is a sort of an anarchist state, in my opinion. But we have to get there step by step. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so I think by not participating at all, it's not just going to fall into some sort of anarchist paradise. You've got to work to get there, in my opinion, which requires some sort of participation in the system itself until you dismantle it altogether.
Yeah. What does Jesus say about the kingdom? It's like a seed planted. Isn't that what he says?
He does say that.
Several different references, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was going to say
being slow.
I was going to say, because I think there's actually a couple of different seed references, because he does give the parable of the seed sown on different kinds of ground, but then he also gives the saying that the seed has to die before it can produce fruit. So there's a few different seed analogies there.
Yeah. But the kingdom is like something that starts small and grows.
A little yeast leavens the whole loaf.
Right. Yeah. So, not Christian nationalism.
Yeah, not me. To me, it's also kind of weird that a lot of the Christian nationalist propagators are also tend to be more don't trust the government. And then think about how much we were taught as kids about the end times and how the government is going to be corrupt and they're going to come and take all of our Bibles away and they're going to behead us and all this other stuff that we were told. It's like that distrust of the government is already built into the system. I don't know why you're ignoring that to try to give the very power that you're afraid to give the government, you're handing it to them. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know that the government uses... It's the oldest government trick in the book to use people's religions as a weapon to produce fear and to control. If you control someone's religion, you control them.
Yeah.
So, why would you want to give the government that power if you know it's corrupt? You know the government is corrupt. As you've already talked about, it's inherently corrupting, no matter who has the power. So why would you want to hand your religion to that corrupted power? Because to me, that's what Christian nationalism is doing. When you marry politics and religion, you are giving the power of your religion to the corrupt government, the government that you don't trust. It's stupid. I hate to use that word, but it's stupid.
Yeah. At a certain point, we were grifted. We were bamboozled. Had the wool pulled over our eyes, right? To think that this side is the good side and that side's the bad side, and we've allowed fear to override, I think, that genuine distrust of government that you're talking about. Fear of losing your way of life, fear of losing your power, your control, fear of losing your status, fear of losing Christianity as you know it, fear of they're going to take away my Bibles and they're transing my kids and all the fear.
They're transing my kids.
What did we used to say, the Alex Jones things?
They're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah. like all of that fear stuff, it's all of it is driven by fear. And if you're fearing for your life, you'll do a lot of things, including trusting people you shouldn't. And I think that's what's happened. I think that we are so driven by fear. And what does it say in Hebrews? It says that the power that Satan held over us was the fear of death.
Yeah.
That Jesus came in the likeness of human flesh.
Perfect love casts out fear. Supposedly, that's what the scriptures say.
Right. Yeah. But somehow we've allowed that fear to. I say somehow as if I don't know. We already talked about it. Christianity has lost its focus on Christ. American evangelicalism specifically seems to have largely, or maybe not largely, maybe I'm conflating. That's why the whole discernment thing comes in. Maybe I'm conflating a small subset of people with the whole, and I don't want to do that if that's the case.
Yeah, but we can only talk about our perspective. That's what I try to always mention that because we talk about evangelicalism or Christianity as a whole, the church, capital C, you know. But the reality is we've only lived our individual lives. We have actually a very small sample size, you know,
Yeah.
of Christianities that we've been involved with. I've been Southern Baptist and then Christ Gospel / non-denom. That's it. I've
Right.
never been anything else. That's the only thing I can speak to. So,
Yeah.
and part of it is just those are the loudest voices in the room, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
well, I don't have any idea how many people within the church, capital C church, are Christian nationalists or, you know, whatever, that fit the description of what we've been talking about today. But those are the loudest voices in the room.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that paint the picture that it is the dominant view, even if it isn't, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I really do think that is, I mean, I guess you can accuse me of both sidesism if you want. But I do think that, like, that's the case on both sides. I think that there are, like, there's, like, the people on the right here, the things, like, all the things, some of the things I just said, trans in our kids.
They're trans in the kids and turning the frogs gay. Yeah.
And, like, that's their things that they're like, this, everyone on the left is so crazy nowadays. And it's like, well, I mean, there are some.
Yeah.
Like, you also can't, as someone who's more left leaning, say, like, no, that no one believes that. No, there really are some people on the left that are far left that believe some crazy things. There really are, just like there are on the left.
Yeah.
Or on the right. I mean, like, I really do think that crazy exists on both sides. Extremes exist on both sides.
Anytime humans are involved, crazy is involved inevitably.
Right. And so, like, it's not as if, but how do you discern again which is what is just like a loud minority versus, like, no, this is the genuine, like, this is the majority? I don't always know, but I do think that to whatever extent this issue that we're talking about exists, it seems to primarily exist. I have heard actually different studies that show, like, there is maybe an increase in Christian nationalism tendencies on the left as well, but it's primarily a right thing at the moment. And so, like, I don't know. It seems to me that the focus on Jesus is what is at the core of this. That we've lost our focus on Jesus. We've allowed the fear of death of all sorts, you know, fear of death of your way of life, of Christianity as you know it. All of these fears, we've allowed all these fears to drive us away from Jesus and into the hands of the Satan, you know, the one who holds us in fear of death instead of being held. What do we say the definition of Christianity was? It's being
belonging to
Christ. We've ran right into the hands of the devil, who we belong to him. If he holds us, that's what the scripture says, that he held us in captive to the fear of death. Like, if you're being held captive by the fear of death, you're being held captive by someone not Christ.
Right. And it also made me, as you were talking about that, for whatever reason, you said something in there that made me think about the Jesus temptation story. And, like, it's literally in there.
Right.
Like, they offered him the kingdoms of the Satan offered Jesus all the kingdoms in the world, and he refused that. He didn't. My kingdom is not of this world.
Yeah.
And that's the very thing that we've run to in Christianity, you know, with the whole Christian nationalism thing. That's literally what Christian nationalism is.
Yeah. Bow down to me. Give me your allegiance. In other words, be held by me, and I'll give you all the kingdoms in the world. It literally is the third temptation of Jesus, and we are failing it instead of focusing on him who's already overcome it.
Some of it is just hard to. This is almost related to some of the other stuff I had been talking to you about recently, about how my paradigm on certain things have shifted so much that I can't even fathom, like, the question itself doesn't even make sense anymore.
Yeah.
This seems to be one of those kind of topics to where it's like, so sometimes I try to think through it and I literally can't even fathom how you get here.
Yeah.
It's that crazy to me now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I was thinking that, actually, earlier as we were talking, I was kind of stumbling over my words, and I was like, I just don't even know how to explain. Like, this just seems so. That's when I was talking about the whole, like, it's upside down. Like, it is crazy to think that, like, I don't see how we don't see this. Something that seems so obvious from my perspective, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that is like the initial reaction, and then when I take a step back and like really try to like be generous, and think through it, I do understand that people, it is what you said, it's fear.
Yeah.
People have that fear and believe, they have that trust that, well, if we can, if we have the power, we can do the right things with it. It's a refusal to acknowledge what we've already talked about, that the ring corrupts all.
Yeah.
That you think that if we have the power, we're going to do all the right things, but the power corrupts. Like,
Hmm.
and that's the crazy thing about it, is it's even sillier though, because it's not like Christian nationalism are electing politicians, like like there's nobody that truly believes, I think, that Trump is a great Christian godly man. Like, in what world? Like, no, people, you've just given that person power as like the figurehead for the movement that you want, but it's not like you're electing the Pope or whoever, the leader of your church as so you're not, Christians aren't taking power. Christians are giving their power to the government, which is already corrupt. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, most of this is all stuff that we've said before. It's just, it just becomes more and more clear to me all the time. And I do think that this is a huge problem in the church, and it needs to be addressed. I don't know how to fight it, though. And I don't know how to convince those that are fighting in a particular way that the way that we fight is how Jesus fought, which is actually to not fight.
Right.
You know?
I mean, for somebody like me, it's been a real problem as far as, I don't remember if we've actually recorded these conversations or if there's just been private conversations, but I've told you before, sometimes I don't know what's worth saving, or is any of it worth saving? You know what I mean? Because it feels so helpless at times, the whole Christian nationalism. Like, it feels like Christianity as a whole has went so astray that at times it's overwhelming for someone like me. It really does come down to, like, is this even worth fighting for, or do we need to just leave it all behind? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean that, I guess, literally, but I'm just trying to be raw about some of the real, like, emotion that it causes me to feel.
Yeah. That reminds me of, and it's a totally valid thing to feel and to think, but it does remind me of that story of Elijah, whenever he's like, I'm the only one that's left.
Yeah.
And God's like, oh no, there's a remnant. There's still plenty of other people.
It is funny because that really is the vibe that God gives in that whole thing. He's like, well, no, come on. Quit being a drama queen, man. Come on.
Yeah, I can't remember the number, but there is a faithful remnant still that have not bowed the knee. Like,
That's such a real story. Like, that's a personable story. Like, it resonates.
yeah. And so it does give me hope. It gives me hope for the church. It gives me hope for the Church of America, even, and America evangelicalism, even. Like, it gives me hope for all of that. That no, there's not just me and you left in this world.
Yeah.
Like, there are Father Juds left. Have you watched that, by the way, yet?
No.
Have you watched Knives Out, that movie?
Oh, yeah. Father Judd. Okay, yeah. I didn't know what you were talking about at first, but yeah, I did watch it. It was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah, I loved it.
I would go to Father Judd's church.
Yeah.
I'd be Catholic for him.
Yeah, I thought it was so good. It's so funny that, like, that might be the most Christian movie of 2025 out of all the Angel Network original movies, like all the stuff that's been made. Like, that might be the most genuine. Who would have thought that, like, Hollywood,
A murder mystery made in liberal Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
starring Daniel Craig. It would be like the most Christian movie of the year.
Daniel Craig plays that part so good too. All those he's done what 2 or 3 of them,
I think there's 3.
and every time he does such a good job in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, I really did enjoy the movie.
There was an aspect to that movie where they made the death so complicated that I was even having trouble following what actually happened for a time.
Yeah.
But the Christian aspect of it was really good.
Yeah, I think it really exposed the issue that we're talking about. It exposed that not only did it expose it exposed both elements. It exposed that there is a genuine problem in the church today with this Christian nationalism. There is a genuine problem in the church today with, like, you know, people that have that sort of cultic personality and people sort of blindly following these people and
that's why
giving their allegiance to them.
And that's why I really loved the role that the kid played that was filming stuff and putting it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because he's a politician, or was aspiring to be a politician.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect example of like that's what Christian nationalism comes down to truly. Like it's the people that actually have the power they're just using it. They're using it to obtain more power. And that's what he was doing. Like he didn't care. He just wanted to get more power, like and that's what he was trying to twist things and to film things to create a narrative that he could use to obtain more power. And that's literally what the people involved, like, I'm not talking about the people that sit in the church pews every week that support these people, but I'm talking about the people that they're supporting, the ones that actually have power, the ones in the government,
Right.
Yeah, Josh Brolin was really good in that too.
Mm-hmm.
He played that role really well.
Yeah. The fiery hellfire and brimstone, like waging war against your enemies.
I thought it was hilarious that his preaching style was so intense that he had to take like a halftime break and go into the closet and drink out of a flask.
Yeah.
To how did they phrase it? To restore his vitality or whatever.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So it does display clearly, I think, that element of what we're dealing with, but it also displays what I was just talking about with the Elijah, that no, man, there is a remnant left. There are Father Juds left in this world. There are people that have not kicked Christ out and got their knives out, so to speak. You know what I mean? There are those that have chosen to Jesus, whenever Jesus is in the garden and he tells Peter, like, put your sword away, there are still folks who have kept Christ and kept their knives sheathed.
Right.
Have disarmed themselves, because that's what you end up. And this is exactly what I was saying earlier. This is what the losing your focus on Jesus does. What it does, when you kick Christ out, you get your knives out. That is like the whole. That's the message, I think, of that. Ironically, obviously the series has existed before that,
right?
But like the theme that kept coming to me thinking about that movie is, if you kick Christ out, if you put Christ aside, then you're inevitably going to get your knives out. You're going to wage war on your enemies instead of love them. Instead of praying for those who persecute you, you're going to wage war. You're going to get your knives out.
Especially if you consider the plot to that movie. I guess it's spoiler alert, by the way. We've already been talking about it now.
Well, yeah.
But the plot of it is so applicable in so many different ways, because like the problem that is created in the movie is really about trying to obtain more, like use people to obtain more, right? So over wealth, trying to obtain it, which causes people to kill. Mm-hmm. Because you're more concerned about obtaining power and wealth than actually loving people, which is what Father Judd embodied. Like he was wholly focused on like pasturing people and loving people, meeting them where they're at and being there for them,
Right.
So it was a perfect contrast between actually loving someone versus using people to obtain what you want,
Mm-hmm. And I thought there's so many elements of it that I thought were really good. Like there's that moment where like Father Judd has that, like, he gets wrapped up in trying to solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
He gets so caught up in that he forgets what he's actually called to do.
Yeah.
Which is to pastor people, which is to be that the hands and feet of Jesus,
Yeah, he had to experience the brokenness of somebody, and that reminded him of his role, when he was
Yeah.
on the phone with that lady. Her brokenness reached something within him.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, considering, like, you always hear that, Christ is close to the brokenhearted and those suffering. He's suffering with the sufferers,
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, that's in that movie, that's what it took to remind Father Judd. It's like that brokenness, and the lady he was talking to on the phone touched that within him,
Mm-hmm.
So in that respect, it really does mirror Christ being suffering with the suffering.
Yeah. And I think if you lose sight of that, you end up trying to solve all the world's problems, trying to fight Christian nationalism. Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of elements. There's a lot of ways you could see that,
There really is, because even in that moment, I was sort of frustrated with Father Judd, because I was like, I mean, you don't have to, like, you can still figure out who committed this crime and pasture the people. You don't have to.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was a little bit frustrated with him in that regard, but it was really just to emphasize, I think, what was really important. They were trying to make a point in the movie, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
because at the end of the day, what matters is, I mean, that one really spoke to me because, like I've said before, we already talked about it a little bit on this episode. The more pastoral leanings that I feel like I have,
right,
like that portion really spoke to me because it was just a reminder that, like, yeah, your purpose is this. This is what you're here to do. And so, like you were saying, it's not that you couldn't do both, but like one needs to be the priority over the other.
right. In that example, his first priority was being priest to those people.
Yeah.
The other, the other is just on the side, I guess you could say.
Right.
It's not the main course.
And I mean, that's exactly actually what Jesus does. He puts aside his own, there's several examples that are coming to mind. Like he intentionally suffers with those who suffer over and against doing the other things. Like the one example that comes to mind is whenever he is grieving actually the loss of John, and he sets that aside momentarily, or maybe he doesn't set it aside. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that wrongly. But like, and it says he heals a bunch of people. Like he went off alone to grieve, and a ton of people. He saw a ton of people that were sick, and he had compassion on them, and he healed them. So it comes across to me almost as if like he's. And the thing is, the tension for me is like it's not a wrong thing to grieve. It's not a wrong response for him to go seek some place of solitary, like in some sort of like solitary place to grieve.
Right.
It's not wrong to do that, but even in that midst of his own personal anguish, he still has compassion on all these other people.
Yeah, we've really come full circle from the beginning of our conversation, because that's really what it's a perfect example for what I was saying earlier about oversimplifying the message to forgiveness is what we were talking about, not necessarily healing someone, but there has to be an aspect of self-care in there. Like what you're naming there is, it's not wrong to grieve. Like Jesus grieved.
Mm-hmm.
He wept. That's the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. Like,
yeah.
there has to be an aspect. You can't ignore that if you're going to help others. You have to help yourself too, or you're not going to be able to help others. And I think that that's a perfect example of that. It's not just as simple as put others above yourself. There has to be an aspect of yourself care involved in that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see it at the cross too. He does genuinely feel abandoned. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He's feeling that grief
Right.
in that moment.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's one of my biggest things that I really like, because you've pointed this out several times too, about how the psalm that he's quoting there ends on a high note. And
Yeah.
a lot of people like to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. I think that's intentional. You should finish there, but you can't gloss over the beginning. Like, he's not just quoting the beginning of that psalm just to quote the beginning of the psalm to say, "Oh, look at the end of it." No, because in that moment that he's quoting that, I do believe he's really feeling.
Yeah.
That's resonating with him. It's not just pointing to the end of the psalm, but that's that
Mhm.
"Why have you forsaken me" is what he's feeling in that moment as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that we have a tendency to want to gloss over that, but I think we need to allow Jesus to. Well, you cannot let the divinity outshine the humanity in Jesus. I think
hmm
we want to do that sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that like separating the two in that moment is not possible. Actually.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Is
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't separate the two and let one outshine the other.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's what we tend to do there. We
Mhm.
want to say, in a situation like that, we want to say, "Oh no, he wasn't really like he didn't feel forsaken. He was just quoting that so that you would see that." No, like,
Yeah. He was tested and tried in every way that we are.
right.
It, um, there's another point that I wanted to bring up about the cross and that. But before I say that, I want to say this real quick because I thought of it whenever you were saying that. I do think, and this is something I've been finding more and more, and it's something that we've actually kind of talked about in a brief text conversation, I think, this week, which is like you do end up coming full circle on that, but it's I think it is necessary to make the circle, like to move away from this point and to eventually come back to it. Because if you just start in that in particular, like because I'm thinking of like PSA, like the reason that I know I'll speak for myself, I'm sure you had the same thing, but like whenever I realized, oh, he's quoting Psalm 22, it was like oh
Yeah.
and like that was the focus of that text. Like that text had that meaning for me for a long time, that it was like, oh, this text is just him. It was exactly what you said. It's just him, in a sense, negating the penal substitutionary atonement theory,
Yeah.
because he's quoting Psalm 22, and if you go to the end of Psalm 22, you see he has not hidden his face from me. He has not abhorred the afflicted, the affliction of the afflicted. You get to the end of Psalm 22, and it's like, oh, well, there you go. He wasn't actually abandoned.
Yeah.
And that's right, though. I think if you are starting from a PSA, if you're starting from a father who looks away from his son, who kills his son, if you're starting from that point, then yes, you need to move away from that, and you need to move to the end of Psalm 22. But I think that there's a point in which you move beyond that, to which you see, no, he really did feel abandoned.
Yeah.
That was a
Comes
real
full
human
circle.
experience.
It comes full circle, but in a different way. I don't know. It's weird. It's maybe instead of a full circle, it's like a spiral that ascends. So you've come
Maybe.
full circle, but you see it in a different light. It means something. It's not. You get something different out of it.
Or in the same kind of way that, like, if you're maybe at some point you make a turn and you're at the same point, but seeing it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Same kind of deal.
Yeah, what you're talking about there is really something I've struggled with a lot internally, as far as knowing how to, because I said one of the big things that I've been thinking about today's the first day of the new year, and one of the things I've been thinking about heading into the new year was how I can improve how I interact with my community. Community being church, my church community. How can I be more edifying? I talked about it with Andrew. I don't want to be destructive. I want to be constructive. I want to help, and that's something that I've had to really wrestle with. Is like, everybody's on their own path, man. They're on their own. We're all at different places, and we can look at it's not always beneficial to force my point of view on other people, even though I may think that on this, whatever topic we're talking about, maybe I think that I've got a better point of view. It's not always right for everybody because you don't know where they're at in their journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that is really hard. That's going back to what you were saying about having discernment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's something that I could use some discernment. I've really been trying to focus on that though. I thought I did a really good job of it with the I mentioned the Advent study that we had done in that book, and I thought I did a pretty good job about it because there was a lot of stuff in there that I just didn't think was good, like really bad theology. But other people seemed to be getting like really good stuff, and we were having really good conversations. And so I didn't interject myself into the conversation and be like, no, actually, like,
Yeah. Right.
they'll get there when they're ready. Like,
Yeah.
and I hate even saying it like that because then that makes it sound like I think I'm superior. They'll get there when they're ready. I don't really mean it like that. I'll get there when I'm ready in certain other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that if, depending on what your view of Christian universalism is, if you hold a view of Christian universal, like from my perspective, for me, and with my view of the afterlife and all that, like, if we're right about that, then yeah, they'll figure it out eventually. You know what I mean? I think everybody will, if we're right about that particular aspect. But then, of course, like you said, we will the areas, the ways in which we're wrong about something, those will be corrected too. That's my hope, is that not only is the whole world not left to their own ignorance, but neither am I. At some point.
Somebody's gonna have to save me from my ignorance. That's for sure. I'm full of it.
You know not what you do. Actually, that reminds me of that other thing I was going to say about the cross, like because we were talking about Father Judd, and we were talking about um, him setting aside his own personal struggle at that moment to be there and to suffer with. And so I was thinking about that from the terms of the cross too. Like Jesus does say, my God, why have you forsaken me? But then that turns into, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And then into your hands I commit my spirit. I trust you,
Right.
not just with my life, but with the life of those that I've interceded for. Father, forgive them. That's not just them. It is the people that were killing him, obviously. But I believe that prayer was for the whole world. Anyone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. Which, surprise, surprise, is all of us.
All of us. Including our Christian nationalists.
I mean, that is a
neighbors.
really good lesson on trust, man. Like, as far as the way that you just used the Knives Out application, because really that's what he's in that moment of the story. The thing that he turns from is really like that's his own life.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in danger of being killed himself necessarily, maybe, but you're talking about like if he's going down for the murder of this person, that's life in prison at the very least. Like that's
Trying to save his life in a sense.
yeah, it really is his own life, and in that moment he is saying, "Jesus, take the wheel," I guess. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
I'm not going to focus on. I'm going to just focus on loving these other people and trust that everything's going to work out. As it that I mean, that's literally what he does, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't actually remember how they appear in the Gospels, or if I don't think all of those are even in the same Gospel.
No, they're not.
So, but if we wanted to try to harmonize them, in a sense, you make that transition from my God, why have you forsaken me, to intercession for the other, which then leads you to, I can trust you with everything, including myself. I think you get out of your own way to help someone else, and in suffering with the other, you can see that if I care for this other person this way, then I can trust that God's going to take care of everyone, including myself.
Isn't it funny though? That really is, I think, a skill might be a weird word for it, but it really is almost a skill that you have to practice.
Yeah.
Because it really is just our natural inclination. Even if you have the head knowledge of what everything that you just said, our natural inclination is like, no, I'm going to take control of this. This is my life. I'm going to control it. Like,
Yeah, I want to save my life.
yeah, I'm gonna save myself. Like, I'm going to do this. You know.
Yeah. Instead of just trusting. It takes a lot of faith, a lot of trust.
Yeah.
To live that life, to live the way. It takes a tremendous amount. Actually, I mean, he says a mustard seed, but it feels like that mustard seed is the size of a mountain some days.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways I really do like Paul's way of putting it. You know, it's foolishness. It's foolishness.
Yeah.
To us and our upside downness, it appears that way. You know,
Right. Yeah.
To have your life on the line and not even try to do anything about it, that's foolishness, right?
Right.
But that's the right way up, not up. That's the right side up approach.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it.
I think we did.
We're just over an hour and a half.
That's a good one. I thought it was good. We had to get this one in though, because you're going away.
I know. I'm about to set sail.
I'm gonna set sail.
Taking a little cruise.
Siesta.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be, this will air actually, I think, the day that we're getting back.
Mm.
That's the plan.
How many days are you guys going? Like your actual cruise?
It's a 5-day.
5-dayer.
We'll leave on Monday and come back Saturday. So,
well, freaking have a good time. I'll be working.
Well, when are you guys taking yours?
Ours is until spring break, so April.
So you'll get to go on one and I'll have to stay here and work.
Yeah, and that'll be lame.
Unless we book another one. I told Candace that what we should do is one a quarter.
It's not a bad approach.
We'll do January, April, July, and October.
Not a bad approach. You can actually, if you, I've flirted with the idea of doing a Christmas one because
I would love to do a Christmas
I
one.
think it would be cool, but also the prices are just cheaper in the December, around my birthday, really. December the 4th-ish, you know, that early December, the prices are cheapest they're ever going to be, you know, like, you guys going this time of year, those are still pretty cheap, but it's New Year's, so maybe it's a little more expensive.
Sometimes Christmas ones can be more expensive.
Yeah, that's why I made sure that it was like, yeah, actually, I was thinking early December, not literally on Christmas, because they are smart and they know when the kids get out for Christmas break, they jack the prices up.
Yeah. Well, but if you go, I mean, I think if you cruise anytime after Thanksgiving, you end up basically getting a Christmas cruise. Like, I think that as far as like the ship's decor and the shows and all that, I'm pretty sure they switch over to like Christmas themes.
So we need to do one for my birthday then. You know, the ladies, our wives, did one for their 40th, and we're turning 40 this year. So
Ooh, we are, aren't we? Let's do it.
But unfortunately, I think I already have all because I'm going to Honduras. I already have all my vacation booked up.
Oh, yeah. Bummer.
Because we're doing, we decided to, in March, when I'm running the 50K with Jeff, instead of flying out to Vegas and just staying for a couple days, we actually decided to take a full week and drive out there and make a little road trip.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan is, because where me and Jeff are running this race is it's in Page, Arizona, so it's near-ish, 2.5 hours from the Grand Canyon. So the hope is that we run the race on Saturday and then drive down close, spend the night, and then wake up the next day and see the sunrise at the Grand Canyon before we drive home. That's the hope. But
yeah,
we'll see how it goes. Of course, that's all dependent on how much pain I'm in after running 35 miles.
Yeah. Well, it sounds fun though.
Yeah, we'll see. We're going. It's a play. It's kind of the opposite way that I went before. I've never been southwest. I've been to the northwest. You know, we went through South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, up to Yellowstone, and then came back through Colorado and Kansas. So I've done like the whole northern loop there, but this time we're going to go south. We're going to go through Oklahoma, spend the night, I think, in Oklahoma City-ish area, and then the next day drive from there to like Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I've never been in New Mexico, and then the next day we'll be in Arizona. So,
yeah,
never been down that way. I've been to Texas, but only through airports.
Yeah,
I had to do a little work trip, a couple of work trips in Dallas area, but I didn't drive there. I had to fly there. So,
yeah, I would like to do that someday. Go out west.
yeah, me and Kel's actually been planning a trip out west for a long time, a road trip, and we've just never been able to make it work. But driving down to Arizona for the race this time is going to allow us to Fandigo, because for the plane tickets, for Finn it was going to be another $500 for us, just to try to fly him out there with us. And I don't know how he would react on a plane. First of all, I don't know how I'm going to react on a plane because I hate flying. So.
Yeah.
So that it was so expensive. I think when I looked up through Southwest, the price for us to fly from Nashville to Las Vegas for just me and Kelly round trip was going to be over $1,000. And I was like, dude, we can drive it, and you can get I've already looked up Airbnbs. You can get them for like $100 a night. It's way cheaper. And it's more of an adventure. I mean, it's 24 hours of driving total, but we're not going to do it all, over a course of 3 days. But still, It's a lot of driving, but it's more of an adventure,
Yeah.
So that's what we're kind of focused on. I would really like Finn to go because he's at that age now to where he's going to start retaining all of these like memories, and I want him to experience them. So
yeah.
I want him to be there during the race, actually, to see me suffer. And I mean that seriously, but not in a like a sadistic kind of way, but just as an example. Yeah, of like, to him, I'm like, literally before you got here, we were watching a strongman competition on TV, and he said that those guys were strong like me. Like, to him, I am a strong man. Like, right. So to see me suffer and persevere through that is, I think, a good lesson for him. So I would like for him to see that. Yeah. As long as I don't break.
Yeah.
Then it would be a bad lesson.
Well, maybe it gives you a little extra motivation to finish it.
Ain't been broken yet, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a good deal. I wouldn't mind doing, I don't know, the thing is, I kind of hate driving.
Yeah.
But the idea of like taking the RV or something and driving out, doing a road trip, going out there, seeing the Grand Canyon and all that stuff, that would be kind of cool.
I think it'd be cool. It'd be something to see. I kind of would like to see the crater out there too. The big crater in Arizona.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we'll have time for that. I think it's out of the way a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, I seen a shooting star yesterday when I was running. And I thought we were going to have a crater. I've never seen I see shooting stars all the time because I run in the mornings out there by myself. So I see probably at least once a week, I see a shooting star. But I've never seen one like this. It was the brightest, lowest I've ever seen one. Like, I literally was like, this thing's going to hit the ground. It's crazy. But
yeah, that's crazy.
But it didn't. Alas, it did not.
Well,
alrighty.
We ready to wrap her up then?
Yeah. Peace out.